Hi everyone, I'm Angela and welcome to Crafting with Angela. Today I'm going to be making a basic junk journal folio. For this folio we need 3 sheets of A4 card. I'm using a heavyweight card around 300 GSM as I want the folio to be strong and survive a lot of handling. So for the first piece of card you need to fold it in half. You can score it, but I just use my scoring tool to provide a lip at the edge for me to fold the card against. This then creates an A5 insert. For the other 2 pieces of card, you want to score them at 3 inches, 9¼ inches and 10 inches. These dimensions will be in the description box below. Then you want to fold each scoreline. Remember, when you're folding a scoreline, you want to turn the card over so you're folding the reverse of the fold. These folds then mean that when we attach it together, the folio will be 6¼ inches wide, 3/4 inches deep and 8¼ inches tall. To assemble the folio, you want to glue one piece of the card to the other using the 1¾ inch strip. I'm using a wet glue. Here I'm using a quick dry tacky glue by Aileen as I want it to dry quickly. Add the glue to the 1¾ inch tab, then fold over the 3-inch tab of the other piece of card and line them up. Make sure that you burnish the cards together well to make sure we've got a good strong join. The 3-inch flap that sticks up in the middle will then become a pocket on the A5 insert. So you want to glue around the 3 edges of the flap and stick it onto the inside of the A5 insert. Then finally, we want to glue down the remaining 3-inch flap at the beginning of the folio to create another pocket. Since this is already part of the A4 sheet, we only need to glue down the top and bottom of the flap. And here you can see what the folio looks like from above and inside, with pockets, space for signatures, and a space at the back where you can put some pictures or photos. I'm going to be adding 3 signatures into this folio. I have a selection of coffee dyed papers, including copier paper, newspaper and music sheets. I also have a couple of sheets of purple dyed paper from another project, and I'll use them to add some colour. I only have 2 sheets, so they're only going to go into 2 of the signatures. The newspaper and music sheets are larger than A4 size and already have centerfold lines, so I'm going to trim them down to size. I'm cutting them down to A5 size, which is 8¼ inch tall by 5¾ inches wide, and I'm keeping the centerfold on the inside of the paper. So if we were to open this up, it would be an A4 size, roughly. One of the signatures is going to be 5 sheets of coffee dyed A4 paper folded in half. This will give a lot of space for journaling or doodling, depending on how we want to use the folio. The other 2 signatures will be a mixture of coffee dyed paper, newspaper, purple dyed paper and music sheets, all folded into an A5 leaflet. Once I've folded them together, I use my bone folder to burnish the folds and make sure everything fits together nicely. When I'm putting signatures together, I like to use a bulldog clip to make sure everything stays together when I'm punching the holes through. You want to make sure the paper is rested against an even surface so everything's lined up before you add the bulldog clip. I am putting the signatures into the folio here to make sure everything is going to sit well. Now we're going to do some bookbinding. In order to do the bookbinding, you want to create a bookbinding template. For this, you want a narrow strip of paper a similar height to your signature. You want to fold it in half and create a fold line down the centre, and then make a mark in the middle and approximately 1 inch from either end on that fold line. Make sure that you mark the top edge so you know which end you will be lining up with the centre of your signature. To use the template, I line it up with the centre of the folio, making sure that the top is lined up accurately. You can use the bulldog clip to keep it in place if that helps. Then you want to use an awl or other pointy tool like a needle to poke holes through the centre of the signature. This is all thin paper, so it isn't difficult to poke the holes through, but do make sure you keep your fingers out of the way, otherwise you could end up poking a hole into your finger. As I'm going to need 2 lines of holes in the spine for the folio as 2 signatures will be going together, I've added a second fold line onto the template, 3/4 of an inch away. That's the width of the spine. And then I drew a line out from each of the holes horizontally. I made a second line of dots approximately 3/8 of an inch away. Next, we need to add the matching holes into the spine of the folio. Again, I make sure the top of the template is lined up with the top of the folio. As the folio is thicker cardstock, I put an old book underneath the folio and use it to push the aisle into, as it will take more force. To sew the signature into the folio, you're going to need a needle and some thread. We'll be using a standard 3-hole pamphlet stitch here. I'm using a thick wax thread because that's what I have, but you could use standard cotton thread or embroidery floss, whatever you have in the house. And your needle, as long as your thread fits through the needle, you can use any needle that you have. You want to measure out the thread, and you will want 3 times the height of the folio. That just make sure you have enough thread there to easily tie it together. If you're stuck, you can get away with 2.5 times the height, but I always like to have that bit extra just to be on the safe side. After you've threaded your needle, you want to go into the centre hole in the signature from the inside. Whichever side you go in from first is where you will tie it off. So most people like to have the knot on the inside of the signature. But if you knew you were going to be decorating the outside and covering the spine completely, you could start on the outside and then the knot would be on the outside of the spine and you could cover it over when you were decorating. You want to make sure you keep the end of the thread out of the way. I find it easiest when I'm going in from the inside of the signature to put it underneath the bulldog clip. It just holds it in place and you don't need to worry about it. Once we're through the first hole, we then want to go into the top hole from the outside. And out through the bottom hole. It can be difficult to get your needle through all of the layers in the signature in one go, especially if you're dealing with fine paper. So do take your time. Then finally we come back in through the centre hole. When you're coming back in through the centre hole, make sure you aren't accidentally putting the needle through the thread. This is where the bulldog clip comes in handy. Finally, you want to tie off the thread. Make sure that each thread is on opposite sides of the downward thread and tie a double knot. You can also tie an S knot, and that's where you loop the thread back through the downward thread and pull the end of the thread through the loop. You tie one end of the thread above and one below the double knot. That helps secure the thread without adding additional bulk to the knot. I'm going to repeat this process for the other 2 signatures. Once all the signatures are in place, we want to add a simple binding. At this stage, I'm just going to use some ribbon to tie the folio closed. So I've taken a length of ribbon and threaded it under the binding thread on the spine. You can add a spot of glue or a glue dot to keep the ribbon in place. Then wrap the ribbon around the folio and tie it into a bow. Here you can see the finished folio. If we untie the bow, you can see the pockets and the signatures. I have some more videos coming up on how to decorate the folio and different types of ephemera that you can add into it, so look out for them coming up soon.